Hello, Incredible Moms. This is Crystal Evaristo with the Incredible Moms podcast, where we discuss getting pregnant, having babies, being a mom, and so much more. We hope you enjoy the show. Hey, Vanessa.
Hey, Crystal. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
Thanks for calling.
Oh, no problem. I'm excited.
So thanks for fitting me in. I know you've had a busy couple days.
Yeah, I have two daughters that are for sure going to get me arrested for Munchausen by proxy. They both have ridiculous amount. They see every specialist in the world. They have unknown diseases, and it's just I'm constantly on the run, going from doctor to doctor. So
oh, geez.
Yeah, but I mean they're fine. Don't get me wrong. They appear healthy, and they just have weird little things go on that I'm constantly going from, like I said, one doctor to another for them. So
yeah. So you don't work in L&D now, but you used to, or?
Yeah, I'm actually not working. I was home with the kids for a little bit. Then I was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. I'm doing well now, thank God.
Geez.
Yeah. And then kind of like I said, just some of the issues that my children are having have really kind of made it a full-time job still, even though they are now 18 and almost 14. I'm kind of not really able to kind of not be around. I kind of have to always be. So, and honestly, so I've always done labor and delivery. It's all I ever wanted to do when I became a nurse. So I did everything in my power, because that was about 21 years ago, 22. And at that time, I guess the shortage wasn't as bad. So if you wanted to do anything like L&D, ER, ICU, anything like that, you really had to have experience as a floor nurse first. You could not just go walk in. I did not want to do that. So I did everything in my power to get every certification. And I was living in LA at the time, and I ended up getting an L&D job at a very small hospital in Chinatown and in labor and delivery. So I did L&D my entire career and would love to go back. So hands-on, I don't have, I haven't been there, but I've kept really relevant. Certainly I've learned so much on this Facebook page, the L&D Rocks Facebook page.
That's awesome. I've only been doing it for 2.5 years, but it was like you, I've been a nurse for 12 years, and you had to know somebody who knew someone to get into it, and Ian had 5 years of experience. So it was hard. So we ended up moving from the Boston area down to North Carolina just so I can get into a place. So you have an 18 and 14-year-old. So it's been a little while. I'm sure you still remember the stories pretty well.
I do, actually. Like I said, they both just stand out in their own way. My first one, obviously, she was my first. And I had already been a labor room nurse. So she was born in 2003 and I started in 90. So I've been working already for 4 years. But your first, it stands out, but, just stupid little things. Hers was kind of uneventful. It was funny because when I got pregnant with her, I was up and down with her dad. We hadn't been married. We weren't sure if we were going to go forward. I was already almost 30. I was 31 and kind of got to a point where I was like, you know what? I don't, I'm not married. My life is, maybe I'm not going to have kids. I'm 31, I don't know what's happening. And then of course, we had a really fun time in Disney World, actually. And next thing you knew, I was pregnant. It was kind of a surprise.
Oh, wow. It's a fun the Disney trip.
Yeah. Well, and it was funny because, I bought a house right after I found out I was pregnant, thinking, okay, I should have a house. I had a great L&D job at the time. It was really the best place I ever worked. And, a great, wonderful woman. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to be living here. Let me get a house. That's it. And, when we were unpacking the house, we found a duffel bag that we had taken to Disney World with us and that had condoms in it. And we're like, whoa, that's where those were.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So, so hers was, and honestly, so hers was uneventful other than the fact that there I was, I bought my house in August. I found I was pregnant in June. I guess I bought the house in August, and then this wonderful job that I had, really still to this day, the best job I ever had. in November, human resources comes and they tell us they're closing the unit down and we've all lost our jobs. And so I switched over jobs and I was working nights. And like I said, her pregnancy thank God she was the first because she didn't move a lot. And had she been my second, I think I probably would have been a nervous wreck because she didn't move very much. But I just, I didn't know any better. And she, I felt her here and there. The only thing she did was she had the hiccups. It was really funny because I used to get the hiccups all the time and I really never do anymore since that pregnancy. It's like she took them from me. And she hiccuped through the whole pregnancy. And I know this because I felt her like punching like in my rectum the whole time. Like I would just be sitting there and I could just feel like this consistent, like boom, boom, like right in my rectum. I was like, oh my God.
Jeez.
Yes. It wasn't painful, just very, like unnerving, I guess is the best word.
Right. You're like, is this in my stomach or in my butt?
Yeah. But hers, like other than that, it was funny because I'm very OCD and I want to be prepared for everything. And I was so afraid of my water breaking anywhere that might get, like I might ruin like my mattress or like the sofa or anything. And so I spent like the last month of my pregnancy with like plastic bags in the car on top of, sitting on everything I sat on. I had a shower curtain under my sheets in the bed. So if my water broke in the bed, like I did everything to like protect everything. And when it finally happened, I actually had to get up in the middle of the night to pee, which I actually was very fortunate. Never had that issue during my pregnancy. I never had to get up. I don't know why, whatever. This night I did. I got up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom and my water broke on the toilet.
Oh, nice.
So all the preparation, it was perfect. And that was really like, my water broke. I wasn't really contracting. I was 37 weeks and I went to the hospital and completely not thinking it was change of shift. I show up there at change of shift and I was so angry when I realized I was like, oh my God, I don't believe I did this. I showed up at change of shift. Why would I do this to my nurses? I'm like, I can't. And it was too late. I was already there. I don't know where my head was. And, I had called out the night before. I told them I wasn't really feeling well. I was supposed to work that night. And then of course they see me in the morning. I was like, you see, I wasn't kidding. I wasn't feeling well. I was going into labor. So wasn't lying. They had to start pit on me because like I said, I wasn't really contracting. Really, just had a pretty not bad labor. I took Stadol, which was really, I wish I hadn't because it really made me so foggy and hard to remember a lot. Like that was really a big mistake. I wish I hadn't done. It was too foggy for the rest of it. And I slept. I slept through the labor a lot
because of the Stadol.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was funny because her dad was like, he knew every time I had a contraction, he said I would start kicking my legs. My legs would just start moving. And then I would just go back and then it would stop. And I delivered. It was pretty quick. She was born at like 2:13. So, I got in there at like 7 a.m. And it was pretty uneventful. She was compound delivery. She had her hand on her head. And, he gave me an episiotomy. And it was funny because, again, I knew these were all my coworkers. The doctor I worked with all the time. And all I remember is I do remember just holding her and staring at her. And the next thing I remember hearing was the doctor going, oh my God, I think she's in shock. I haven't heard her so quiet ever. she's so quiet.
That's funny. Did it take you a long time to try to push her out because of the compound presentation?
I don't think so. I don't feel like I pushed forever. If I pushed, I think I pushed like about an hour, maybe, like from beginning, like when nurses start and then when the doc, I do remember it's even an hour, like everything just seemed really simple with her, to be honest with you. Like it just really was just pretty uneventful. And I remember, they brought a mirror in so I could watch, and he pulled my hand down to touch, and I do remember touching her fingers on her head. And like, what the heck is that?
That is so weird.
Yeah, exactly. Like, why is that?
So you didn't get an epidural. You just had Stadol. Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you had to have an episiotomy. Did you feel that?
Not really, because he puts the lido in. And,
Okay.
yeah. I think everything was just such a flash with her because I was really scared with my second one, and I was not scared with her. And so it was really funny. Like hers was just so, kind of like not a terrible pregnancy, not anything terrible. But then I was scared with my second one. My second one, I just remember looking at her dad and being like, "Ooh, I'm scared."
Was there anything that sparked that? Like,
so with her, now so before my first, I had an ectopic and a miscarriage. And that's why I kind of said that, like, I wasn't really trying. I figured it was not going to be for me to have kids. I just wasn't in a great relationship. I was my early 30s. If I was going to find a great one, it was just, I was going to get older and older. And I had already had the ectopic and the miscarriage that I really didn't think. And then after my first one, we started trying because I really wanted to have a sibling, and I had another miscarriage. So we were trying because I was getting older, like, advanced maternal age. I was 36 now, 36. And, between the, just trying and the miscarriage and all, I got it, I got pregnant, and that was great. And then her pregnancy was just it was a miserable pregnancy. I was so uncomfortable through the whole thing. It just, everything, food affected me. I mean, the way I even realized I was pregnant, it was immediate. I was at work one day and like had to bend down to like get a food tray for a patient. And immediately I was like almost going to get sick. And everyone started saying, "Oh, you must be pregnant. You must be pregnant." And I was like, "Yeah, look, if I'm pregnant, I'm like 2 days pregnant or something. It's not possible. It's just, it can't be." And of course I was. Then I just was really uncomfortable. I had this pain in like my whole like uh, groin, I guess, vaginal area. Like I just and it was just such a weird pain that just it I couldn't step out of my car, like to move my leg from like the gas, from the under the steering wheel to the outside of the car was like torture. Like I had to turn my whole body first and put both my feet on the ground. It was just all sorts of, but there were times I was even just sitting on my couch and it literally felt like there was somebody tearing through like my vagina already, like just tearing through me. It was so uncomfortable. And I told my doctor about it. And I was going through maternal fetal medicine because of my multiple miscarriages and some blood work that didn't come back right. And so I wasn't going to them, and I told them, I said, "I don't know what's going on, but I am really I'm in pain, and I don't know what it is. It doesn't even make sense." And he kind of poo-pooed me and was like, I had a history of depression. So he literally told me that I was just looking for attention, that it was my depression or something, that it was not, that everything was fine, and I was just making it up, basically.
Jeez, it at least sounds like round ligament pain or something. Like I had that like my fourth pregnancy.
Right. Well, what it turned out was I bumped into a woman I had worked with at another hospital who was a chiropractor and a doula. And that's where I had worked with her. She came in with patients as a doula. And we started talking, and she saw I was pregnant and asked me how it was going. And I told her this pain that I was having. And she immediately said, and I can't even remember the name of it now, but it was a symphysis, a symphysis, why can I say
symphysis pubis something?
Symphysis, yes, tear is what it was.
Oh.
And I was like, "What?" So, and she was like, "That's what that sounds like to me." She's like, "Come in and I'll give you an adjustment or whatever." So I went home, went on the internet and started Googling it. And it was amazing to me. I was textbook. I mean, everything that I was describing, like the car was one of the big things that you feel it when you try and step out of the car. It was textbook. I had never heard of this before. It's due to, and sometimes the relaxin relaxes your hip joints and everything so much that it actually causes this tear with the symphysis pubis. And it was like everything I was complaining about, I was textbook. It was just unbelievable. And I couldn't believe that my doctor had like poo-pooed me like that. Like somebody should have known about this. And on top of it, my daughter was breech. They had already said she was, and that's what happens when when this when you have this tear, you can have malpresentations because your hips are off. And so it causes the malpresentation. So my daughter was breech. And so I went to her and she really, oh my God. Oh, because at that time I had to stop working. I was so uncomfortable and I was going to work, and my doctor, again, I was working with my doctor. My regular OB would see me at work, and she said to me, she was like, "You can't work anymore. You look terrible. You can't be here. There's, you're not, you can, and you're not helping yourself by being here." So I had to go out on disability for the end of my pregnancy. And this is when I bumped into this doula and the chiropractor, and she gave me a whole adjustment. And that was the first time in months I walked out of that office and I was like, oh my God, I can walk again. I was like, just feeling so much better. But then I had the issue with the freaking breech, which I really did not want a C-section. I just was so adamant that I was not going to have a C-section. My OB was insisting that I had to, so I was doing everything possible. I had a dog ramp in my house, so I was like lying down in my dog ramp upside down. I was playing rock music inside, to the baby to like make it turn away from it. I could feel her. She was like bulging out of my right side. Her head was right under my breast, like bulging out, and I'd push on her head, trying to like just push her down, like go away, go down. And I tried everything. I was like last minute, I was going to midwives that do all sorts of alignments and herbal herbs. And I was burning sage next to my pinky toe. That's my favorite one. I don't know what that was going to do.
Replacement of like moxibustion or whatever they call it.
So, I was just doing everything I could to turn this baby. I just did not want a C-section. First I have to tell you that I'm only 4'11".
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, there were doctors that I worked with that would always tease me and say, you walk into my office, I'm sectioning you on the spot. You can't have a baby. And I'm like, give me a break. Yeah, exactly. So, I was like, I didn't want it. So I was going from, these home birth midwives, all these different people just like to try and help me turn the baby. And I was getting closer and closer to my due date. And so one of the midwives recommended an OB that would deliver breech, and to try this and try him. So I was like, well, if I can, then that's what I'll do. I'm like I said, I was like already like 36 weeks, at least 37. It was 37. So I went, she got me into an appointment with him, and I went to him, and I'm pretty sure he stripped membranes in the office, because it was the most painful exam I ever had. It was so painful. And my water broke that night. And it was interesting because he he gave me a whole lecture on like, listen, I don't mind delivering breech. He's like, that's what you're supposed to do. Babies deliver themselves. I truly believe that. He's like, but I'll tell you this, unless it's a frank or a complete, I'm not delivering you. If it's incomplete or footling, that's not happening. And I was like, fine, I'm with you. I'm on the same page. I totally agree with you. And so then he did the exam, went home that night, and I laughed actually with my friend who's the midwife in Texas. I was on the phone with her, and there was a possum in my backyard, and my dogs were cornering it. And I'm on the phone with her, and I'm screaming bloody murder. And I'm like, I gotta go. And I didn't talk to her again till the next day. And I told her that my water had broken, and I had the baby. She was like, you screamed that baby right out of you. So, but so I went in. So again, it wasn't later than, it was almost identical to my first child. So I had the appointment, screamed at the possum, went to bed, woke up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, and my water broke. Same thing. It was just unbelievable. Same exact thing. So this time, I wasn't anticipating that. So I got in the shower real quick and shaved my legs before I had to go to meet my coworkers with hairy legs. Quickly went and showered and shaved. Had my parents come take care of my older daughter. And then their dad and I, went off to the hospital, stopped at Dunkin' Donuts on the way, and got to get some donuts because now again I was showing up at change of shift again. It
Oh,
was the
geez.
same thing. I could not believe I was doing this again. So and again, my contractions hadn't really started until we got to Dunkin' Donuts, and then I was like, we're in the drive-through, and I'm walking next to the car. He's like driving through the drive, and I'm walking. I'm like, oh my god, we gotta go.
I can only imagine what people are thinking, like, what is wrong with this pregnant girl?
Yes, exactly. So we go to Dunkin' Donuts, we get to the hospital, we show up again, change of shift, no one's happy about it, all trying to figure out what to do. And I tell them, I'm like, by the way, I'm breech. And they're like, oh, so they have to do an ultrasound to confirm position. And I was complete. I was a complete breech. Not frank, but complete, but he was still willing to deliver that. So they put me in a room. They they set everything up, and I'm just progressing fine. And I was, like I said, I was just different with this one. It had been such a yucky pregnancy. And so I was like, and I didn't want to do the Stadol. Like I said, I much prefer to just give into the epidural and then have that fogginess that I had with the Stadol. I really was upset. I felt like I just wasn't in my full brain with the Stadol from the first one. So, and it really bothered me that I had done that. So, I sit up for the epidural. And of course, again, I work at this hospital, and the nurse anesthetist, and who's good and who's not quite as good.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the woman who wasn't quite as good was the one that was on.
Ugh.
And yeah, and I was like, you got to be kidding me. And I had never had the experience before, but I knew patient reactions every time, different from the different nurses, nurse anesthetists that came in, and there was never good reactions with this one. I was like, you got to be kidding me. So she came in, and when I sat up, I don't know what started happening. I think the baby started coming down. She just did a whole bunch of something that I could not sit up. Like literally, I was like, I couldn't sit on my butt. I was like, it was just not possible to get the epidural because I couldn't sit. And so the doctor came in to check me, and he comes and he's like, her feet came down. She's footling. Like she was frank before, but now he's like, I feel her feet. She's right there. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. I was so upset. I was like, now this is it. Now I'm getting sectioned. The last thing I wanted to do. Oh, but I was also by this time, I think 7 or 8 centimeters. I had come in, and I was 2 when I came in, and now I was like 7 or 8, but her feet came down. I'm thinking, okay, he's prepping. That's it. We're going for a section because he already warned me last night he would not do this. Well, next thing I know, he looks at the nurse, who, by the way, was a brand spanking new young nurse. She was like 22,
Oh, no.
had only been working. Really, she had just started working before I went on maternity leave. So, I mean, it was like a couple of months. Oh, poor Kira. I won't forget that. And he looks at her and he's like, start Pitocin. And both of us looked at him like, huh? What are we doing now?
It's like, oh crap.
And she was like, okay. And she did. And I looked, and I was like, okay. Cause I wasn't going to argue. Quite honestly, I was like, I didn't want a section, but okay. If, I'll trust you to do what you want to do. So like I said, he examined me. He said I was at 7 or 8. I can't remember, but I was still really high. I was like -3, I think. He said I was really high, but he could feel feet. And so I still had time. So whatever. He sits at the edge of the bed. And of course I have the huge labor room suite because I am, a coworker, and they
VIP.
Yeah. So, my parents are in there sitting on the couch and stuff. And he sits down and he starts just chit chatting with everyone. And I have no idea what he's talking about to anybody about, because all I remember is looking at my boyfriend at the time, the father, and looking at him and going, I'm really scared. Like, I don't know what, but all I could think, like, I'm not gonna be able to do this. Like, I just got really scared. And he just looked at me, and I didn't know what was happening, but they had put a catheter in me, I guess I don't usually we do it after the epidural, so I don't know how I had the catheter. That it's funny. I don't know if it was just they were all just very sure that I was having a C-section or what. They just wanted to be ready.
Yeah.
And so I kept feeling something between my legs. And I kept thinking it was the catheter. And I kept reaching for like to give the catheter some slack. I kept thinking it was this catheter hitting between my thighs. And I kept pulling for slack. Then and that was it. I kept kind of doing that kind of thing. Oh no, that not yet. So I kept saying I was scared. And then after he was chit-chatting, he examined me again. He was like, she's ready. She's complete. She's still high, but she's complete. Let's bring her to the OR because, of course, they were going to do just in case. Exactly. So he was like, and it was like very quick. He had started the pit. Next thing at 7 or 8, next thing you knew, I was complete, but still high. I think what happened was when he pulled his arm down or something, I think he pulled the baby with it. I think something because like I said, this is when it was like they started prepping her dad with everything for the OR. They started prepping me. They took the bed. They're wheeling it. And the whole time they're doing all of this, I'm feeling something between my legs. And I'm thinking it's the catheter.
Oh, God, it's a leg.
Yeah. Well, so I don't say anything. I'm just like, they're wheeling me. Everything seems calm. No big deal. They wheel me over to the OR. They had me right outside the OR doors waiting for him to come. I guess they didn't want to put me in until he was there. And everyone's chit-chatting. We're all really comfortable, like talking about, I don't know what it is, if it's a girl or a boy. I don't find out for either one of my children. Although for my first one, the nurses that I worked with did an ultrasound on me one day, and they all knew and didn't tell me. So they all knew what I was having on my first one, but this I did not know. So they were asking me what names I was going to name, and we're having a whole discussion about that. And he was taking forever. I don't know where he was, but it was quite a while. And then one of the midwives came by and decided to just look under my blanket, and she was like, "Holy shit, there are feet there."
Oh my God. And you didn't have an epidural. A functioning epidural. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Like, I just thought everything was normal. I guess I was just distracted with the talking and the contractions. And like I said, I felt something, but I just thought I just felt it was, catheter. I was like, it couldn't be feet. Like I just really, I didn't believe that it could be that. And so now we're right outside the OR doors. They push me into the OR and quickly, and they're screaming for, they're called, get the doctor in here immediately. The midwife setting up that, and everyone's screaming. Oh my, remember I told you, I have like a new graduate nurse. So everyone's screaming at her. They're all screaming, get the catheter out, get the catheter out. And I'm screaming, check fetal heart tones, check fetal heart tones.
Right.
I'm terrified now that I've been feeling this for quite some time, and it was feet the entire time.
Oh my God.
And I'm terrified now. I'm like, I've killed my baby. Like, so I'm screaming. I'm like, you must check fetal heart tones, please. I was just screaming at her, and literally everyone else is get the catheter, get the catheter. I'm like, I don't care, rip me up, I don't care. And so it became like this hysterical situation. In the OR, he comes in, and he's like, push, and I'm like, with everything in my body, I'm like, I'm going to push this baby out as fast as I can. And I just, with everything I could muster, I just grabbed my leg. Notice I did not do a great shaving job on my legs. And push with all my might. And I push her out, and he pulls her out, and she cries. Thank the Lord. I'm just so happy. Of course, NICU was there. And they didn't hold her. I think she had just 8, 9 Apgars. But her legs were dark. Her legs were purple. I mean, it was really, her legs had been out. They were not, it was concerning, but she was fine. She was pink all over. Because she turns out to be very fair skinned, very bright orange hair, pink coloring. And, she had this line of hair like an old man that has that bald on top, but like a ring of hair that goes around.
Yeah.
So they took her for not long, and they gave her right to me. I felt like she was, grunting a little. So I immediately put her to breast to make sure that she'd be okay. And they wouldn't take her away. And that was it. She was born in just literally one bit. Like, he had to start screaming at me. He's like, stop pushing. Because I was just like pushing with everything I could. And I just pushed her out in one big push, and it was just quick. I had her by 11:43. I was there, 7 a.m. and all of that. And that was it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Like, you know how it is. Like people see, fetal parts in the vagina and everything starts turning into a complete mayhem.
Exactly. And like I said, we were all just kind of like, I was going through contractions and reading through and doing it all. And we were just sitting right outside the OR door. The midwife was just sitting in a chair talking. Like I said, we were talking about the name. She was asking me what names I had. And we were just like chilling, and it was like, someone just decided to lift up that blanket and was like, oh my God, there are feet. I was like, oh my God. That was it. And I always think of that poor nurse though.
Probably like the only breech delivery she's going to have. Well, I'm sure she had more now, but I'm just saying, ever and for a really long time. Wow.
Well, it was interesting because the doctor came the next day to visit. And again, I'd only ever had one visit with him, one appointment with the night, and that's why I think he stripped membranes. And he didn't work at this hospital that often, so I was not entirely familiar with him. And he came in to explain why he decided to start PIT after he gave me this whole lecture that he would not deliver me unless it was a frank or a complete. And he said, here's the thing. I'm an OB. He's like, I don't really do a lot. I mean, babies deliver themselves. He's like, that's what they do. They deliver that, women have babies in the field. You don't need a doctor to have a baby. Like they're going to deliver. A normal vaginal delivery is going to happen. Your type of situation is what I became a doctor for. He's like, to know exactly what's right to do, when to do it. You went to 7, 8 centimeters so fast, and you told me you do, fairly quick deliveries. All the literature supported once that you were at 7 or 8 with a foot to keep going. He's like, everything supported that you could do this and to keep going at that point. There was no turning back. You were going to deliver this baby. And he's like, and that's why I became a doctor, to do exactly, to guide that kind of situation where it's not the normal vaginal delivery, but the one you do need a doctor for to help it come the way it needs to come.
Right. Was he a young doctor or older?
Older.
Oh, okay. So he's had some experience probably.
Yeah.
Wow.
I actually worked with another doctor at another hospital that was known for always doing his breeches. That's what he did. Like if he would deliver breeches, and again, he was an older doctor. The only reason I hadn't gone to him immediately was because he was not covered under my insurance. This one that I did not know as well, it was under my insurance. So it was worth it to me. There are doctors out there that do it. And it's funny, I work in South Florida. So a lot of the nurses here are, a lot of the population in general are island people, between the Bahamas or Puerto Rico or, you know what I mean? Or Haiti. There's a lot of population, Haiti, Jamaica, things like that. And that do have, still come from like, old wives' tales, like that type of stuff, that the traditional things. And so a lot of the nurses that I worked with on the night shift there said, breech babies deliver themselves. It's not it's not impossible to have a breech delivery. Because when I knew she was breech and I was so upset, I was like, I just really didn't want a C-section for just multiple things. And, it's not the worst thing in the world. Obviously people have C-sections and that life goes on. Just if I could help it, I really wanted to have not have to be recovering from a major invasive surgery when I have 2 children at home. I just did not want to do that if I didn't have.
Especially being a nurse, what's going on and how it feels, kind of like see how it feels.
Right.
I would never want one.
Exactly. Well, and the thing is, it's such a disrespected surgery. It's the most disrespected surgery, with literally one of the highest risk surgeries you could have. You're dealing with 2 lives. How many surgeries go into 2 cavities? You're going into the abdomen and then into the uterus. I mean, there's how many surgeries do that? And it's just, and these women have this, and then they're expected to be a mom full time and take care and carry babies. I mean, you have a laparoscopic, appendectomy, and you're on bed rest for 6 weeks after or whatever. I mean, this is invasive, and people, you had a baby, here, go clean the house, do the laundry, take care of your kids. Don't worry about it. it's just a very disrespected surgery for the moms, and everyone forgets what they've been through, and it's tough. So motherhood's tough in general. So
right. So as a nurse, have you assisted in many breech deliveries?
you know what? I never did.
Oh, okay.
I've never seen a breech delivery myself. They've been, in the hospital, but yeah, no, I never did assist.
I think like what you're saying is right, like what the doctor said too, is like they would deliver themselves because like we had twins, but they were preterm. I mean, they were really small, and one of them ended up flipping, coming out breech. Like it happened so quick, we hadn't even known it was happening,
Right,
and it just
right.
came out, and everyone's always like, "Well, head entrapment, and it's like how. I wonder what I have to look it up after this, but like what the statistics are as far as how often there's head entrapment with a breech delivery, because I wonder how high the numbers
Right.
are.
That's actually a really good point. That's a really good question. Like, because I usually, anytime I come up with things like that, I always try and research. I always do that type of thing. Like, oh, I got to look that up. I want to know about that. I've never done that. That's actually a really good point. I
Yeah.
wonder, because, my brother, so it's funny. My mom, I have an older brother who's 8 years older than me. My mom, he was breech. And my mom had him even quicker than I did. She got dropped off at the hospital and was sitting in bed and told the nurse that she felt like she had to go to the bathroom, and the nurse let her get up.
Oh God.
I'm not kidding. She got up and went and started walking down the hallway and was like, "Oh my God," she was so embarrassed. It was her first child. She was 21, and she was like, "Oh my God, I can't hold it. I'm going to go to the bathroom right here. I can't do it." And as she's like trying to hold it, a nurse screams, "Oh my God." And she looked down and there were legs hanging
Oh,
out.
geez. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I think I saw something on our like the delivery nurses brought group of like a picture of like a nurse like catching a baby like in the hallway, like because like
Yeah.
the patient couldn't make it from triage or something, like, and they were walking like. But yeah, that sounds like that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So did you have like a good postpartum experience with them? And
My first one was really a dream. Really, she was really such a perfect child for so long. She everything about her was easy. She nursed perfectly well. She potty trained. I mean, like everything about she really did. I nursed her for 14 months,
oh, nice.
and even the transition with that to not nursing was easy. And even like, it wasn't exclusive nursing necessarily. I mean, she would use a bottle as she got older. She started using a bottle in breast milk, and even to transition her to a bottle was no problem. She used a pacifier. But yeah, no, so my postpartum with her, I feel was pretty, like I had the tear, the episiotomy, and that was a health, I kept that healthy. That looked fine. And yeah, but hers was really uneventful. Well, that's not true. I apologize. Because she was never a sleeper.
Oh,
She was never, ever, ever a sleeper. I went back to work when she was 4 months old, and our hospital has a daycare, really wonderful daycare that I was able to get her into. And after about the first week of bringing her there, I picked her up I picked her up one night, and they were like, she doesn't nap, right? I'm like, yeah, welcome to my world. I'm like, yeah. And she was only 4 months old.
oh,
So
that's horrible.
yeah, she was never, I became one of those moms that was always like, oh, I can't go out because I have a child. And I swore I wouldn't do that. And it wasn't really about like not having a child, because she was really easy. I could bring her anywhere. I could bring her to a restaurant. I mean, she was just not a problem in any way, shape, or form except for the sleeping. And the issue with going out at a certain time was, if I had to drive home, from somewhere, she would fall asleep in the car for 10 minutes. And the second we'd pull in the driveway and the car would stop, then she was up, and that's all she needed was that little power nap, and she just wouldn't sleep.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
nightmare.
I don't think I could tolerate that.
Yeah.
I'd rather breastfeeding not work, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially being a night shift nurse.
Yeah. I mean, she was a night. I mean, the sleeping was and again, she wasn't a big crier or anything, but she was up. She was always up, and she wanted, she wanted to nurse. And, even that I didn't know, being a first time mom. Oh, that was the funniest thing. Actually, this is a funny story. First of all, you think you know what you're doing as a nurse, especially a labor and delivery nurse. You think you know something about babies.
Right.
And you really don't until you bring them home, because the first bath was the funniest thing. So it's time to give her her first bath, and I look at her dad, and I'm like, we don't have a warmer here. There's no warmer. Wait a minute. Well, how do we give a bath? This is like a little slippery thing. How do I give this little thing like a bath? Like, I usually do it like on a, on a chuck under a warmer, keep her nice and warm, and just do a little sponge bath. Like, I don't know how to do this at all. Like, this is not.
Did you check her temperature like 30 minutes after? And
I was like, what on earth? I don't know what I'm doing I don't know what I'm doing with a baby at home. I need a hospital setting. That's where I know what to do with a baby. But so I also didn't realize, like, I just thought babies, well, certainly newborns, but I continued on with the nursing. Every time she cried, I was nursing her, and I was just like losing my mind. And that was also, I think, why she wasn't sleeping, was I wasn't I wasn't being at all any forceful. Wasn't being forceful with her myself. Like, I was letting her completely run the show.
right.
And which, on demand is one thing, but you have to have some boundaries of, like, for your own sanity. And I wasn't really doing that. So she was training me much more than I was training her.
Yeah.
But my second one, I had trouble nursing with her. Like, my older one, like I said, with nursing, I could literally just like lie her on the boppy, have the boppy, and, stick the breast in her mouth and then go about my business. I could clip her toenail, clip her nails. Like, my hands were free. She was holding on, doing her thing. And she was all propped up and set to go. Where my younger one, I had to hold the breast in her mouth. Like, I had to be like holding the breast. She wasn't, she was not interested in breastfeeding. And I was so adamant that I had to do exactly with her with what I did with my older one. And, I breastfed her for 14 months. This has to happen with you too. And I finally at 10 months gave up. I was like, you know what? We can't do it. Neither one of us likes this anymore. Like, we can't. And both of us were so much happier after that. So much happier. But my younger one was a sleeper. She was sleeping through the night by 3 months. Wow. But she had to, because she was a nightmare when she was awake. So
she exhausted herself.
Yes, exactly. So I always said that was God protecting her, because had she not slept, I don't think she'd be here today, because at least she was a great sleeper. She would take 3-hour naps. I'd have to wake her up to make sure she'd fall asleep again at night to sleep at night. So, she really gave me the break, with the sleeping, at least, thank God.
Are they similar personality wise now too?
Yeah. Similar to what they were then. Yeah. Well, no, it's actually funny. No, they are very different from each other. 100%. They've always been night and day. So that is similar. But it's really funny because someone told me, because she was always, my little one was always just giving me heart palpitations. And we were in a store one time, and I was like losing my mind with her. And somebody looked at me and said, the ones that give you trouble now, I think I even said to them first, I said, she's driving me insane now. I can't imagine what she's going to be like as a teenager. I'm like, girls as teenagers are already a pain in the ass. Like, what is this one going to be? Like, she's going to kill me. And this stranger was like, no. The ones that give you trouble now, those are the ones. She'll be fine. She'll be fine later. That's not going to be a problem. And I was like, from your lips to God's ears, please. And it's really funny, because my older one, who was such an angel, hit 10, close to, adolescence and puberty. And that was the end of that sweet angel. She's been like just torturing me since then. And my younger one and I have like a really tight relationship. Like, she's very much me. I think that was a lot of the headbutting that she and I had, that we really both are sarcastic and, headstrong. And so, but like, I think we're in a really good spot. So we actually, we really have a good thing going, that she's not the one that's causing me all the headaches so much, typical teenage stuff or whatever, but not this, not a nightmare anymore. So right. I always tease her. I'm like, so listen, your sister won 0 to 10. She has you beat by a mile. I'm like, this is 10 to 20 is your time to shine because your sister's driving me crazy now. So this will be your time to shine. You can really make up for 0 to 10 right now. And I think she's listened to me.
At least I'm not tag teaming you.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
My 2 older ones, 10 and 13. Oh my God. Sometimes they like start coming at me at the same time. I'm like, please, I can't deal with a teenage attitude from both of you.
Right. Exactly. It's too much. Girls. I mean, I knew it, it was so funny. Their dad and I would always say, after my first one, we'd always say, we really are really testing fate with the second one because really the first one was just remarkably like unusually good. We could take her anywhere. She was just really a smart, good kid. And we just knew, we said, there's no way on earth we're getting that lucky. That's just not happening. It can't happen again. So we were kind of prepared, but you're never fully prepared for.
Is that how they trick you into having more because the first one's so good?
Yeah.
I must be a really good parent. Let's try for another one.
Right. Exactly. It's all me. I know what I'm doing here. Although, their dad is so funny. Everything we did with the first one, we had no idea what we were doing, and so he was constantly doing, the circus theme, because we were like, just in the circus, we don't know what we're doing here.
Right. Wow.
Neither one of us could ever master diapers. And even look, I'm a labor room nurse. I had to put on diapers. I used to work in daycare when I was younger in college. I mean, I've always worked with kids, always thought, I always knew I wanted to be around kids. And I don't know what it was. Neither one of us, we needed a very calm, still child to in a good environment, like an actual changing table to put on a good diaper. We were terrible at putting on diapers. So we would look in awe at people who could do it while their kid was standing up between their legs or just anywhere. And we were we couldn't do it right. Their dad would put on a diaper and the kid would walk away and it would have a wedgie. And was what are you doing? What is wrong with you? We couldn't do diapers.
Thank God you didn't have boys.
Yes, exactly. Could you imagine?
Real life sprinkling everywhere. Yeah. Replace outfits.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you so much. This is awesome.
Well, thanks. No, thanks for having me. It was fun. It was fun to it's always a fun time to tell your birth story. So, and I think mine are pretty fun, unique ones. I guess we're all unique. Everybody's birth story is unique. So thank you for listening and letting me share.
No problem. Yeah, that's why I love birth stories, because even when we're working, every story is different from the last. Well, thank you so much again.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right. I'll talk to you later.
All righty. Bye.
All right, bye. Thank you so much for listening to this incredible mom story today. I really hope you enjoyed it and that it may have helped you in some way. Make sure you rate and leave a comment so I can be sure to bring you the content that you really want. Please follow the Incredible Moms podcast on Instagram, where you'll also be able to find many updates and episodes. I can't tell you how much I appreciate any support. Stay tuned for another Incredible Mom next week.